climactic showdown that occurs on the ship of the Invisible Hand in Revenge of the Sith between Count Dooku, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker is by far one of the most notable final confrontations between any rivalry, with Anakin's dark side tendencies and pure power in the Force and lightsaber combat finally overcoming the aging and weary Count Dooku. Count Dooku, as depicted in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, is fleshed out and illustrated much more carefully as a character, showing just how greedy and selfish he really was, and how much he believed he would be spared, and how Palpatine curbed and manipulated Dooku, manipulating and exploiting his one fatal flaw. Dooku believed he could not be manipulated. However, in the scene where Anakin has the twin lightsabers pointed in a crossroads at Dooku, he can see Dooku's face is struck with utter shock when Anakin slices off the Count's hands. We do not see pain, agony, we do not see any sign of discomfort. We see pure utter shock and fear. Count Dooku, for many reasons, is in many ideas the primary antagonist of basically the entirety of the prequel era, while Palpatine is the overarching antagonist. Count Dooku was mainly the being who started it all. He left the Jedi Order, and then he proceeded to lead the separatist movement orchestrated by Palpatine, and proceeded to lead a crusade of brutal campaigns against the Jedi Order, brutalizing and subduing them into submission. Although the Separatists were defeated on numerous of these occasions, Count Dooku is by far one of the most evil men the galaxy had ever seen, despite not devoting himself entirely to the study of the dark side. However, why would Count Dooku, in this moment, not be fearful, not be in agony or pain, after Anakin sliced off both of his hands, taking a double what the Count had taken from him, his hands? Well, my friends, join us as we open this next holocron and deduce why truly Dooku was not fearful or he was not in utter pain, but why Count Dooku, leader of the Separatists, was actually in complete and utter shock rather than agony. To start things off, we have to flesh out the moments before this encounter, where Anakin and Obi-Wan are currently storming through the halls of the Invisible Hand, Dooku's personal and General Grievous's personal cruiser at the time. Dooku is talking to Palpatine, secretly the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, and beginning and going through their plan one final time. Dooku begins to know and state that they should not turn Anakin to the dark side. It should be noted that Palpatine manipulated Dooku into believing that he, Dooku, and Anakin would be leading the new Empire, rather than just him and Anakin, as Palpatine's plan had always been. Dooku was always meant to be a filler apprentice, an expendable apprentice, powerful at that, and a powerful piece to move across the board, but discarded when his purpose had been fulfilled. Dooku comments and suggests a myriad of reasons why Anakin should not be turned to the dark side, and potentially, instead, why they should actually turn Obi-Wan Kenobi, his own master, as while Dooku clearly states that Anakin is the more powerful of the two evidently. Obi-Wan is more controlled, more calm and collected, and Anakin is uncontrolled, unrefined, and once he's off his leash, he can do basically anything. He speaks of his high opinion on Qui-Gon Jinn here, and sees Obi-Wan Kenobi as a kind of grandson, not wanting to kill the Jedi or discard him, but want to tutor him, and have them make peace. However, Palpatine honestly comes up with a really brilliant idea, with Palpatine stating that if Dooku detested the idea of Anakin joining the ranks of the Sith, then he shouldn't have taken his right arm. But why is this? Do we have to understand that Dooku's philosophy revolves around the idea he hates cybernetics, and I mean absolutely detests them, perhaps more than anything else in galactic history. Dooku hates General Grievous. He's disgusted by the cyborg general, but Anakin Skywalker, one of the men he has certainly grown to hate more than anyone else in the galaxy. You could easily say Dooku is jealous of Anakin's overwhelming physical strength in the art of the blade. However, Dooku is repulsed by Anakin's cybernetic arm, purely for the reason that Dooku was the one who delivered that blow. Dooku, in my opinion, was thinking at this moment that he shouldn't have cut off Anakin's sword arm, with Anakin installing a cybernetic and prosthetic instead of learning to fight with one hand, which in Dooku's way was no longer being a gentleman and cutting corners, which Dooku prided himself on never doing. Dooku even stated to Palpatine that if he had been the one who had his hand severed, he would have learned how to fight with one hand instead of two, wielding the iconic weapon that has brought him so much joy with merely one single hand. Palpatine states that Anakin's cybernetic hand could bring more power to the young chosen one, and rebuts Dooku. Dooku eventually loses this argument, and the battle aboard the invisible hand commences. However, we can see that Dooku, when his hands are severed, we do not see pain in his face, but shock. Why is this? Let us answer this question. Dooku, in this moment, was fearful for his future, not for his life. He believed that he would be spared, and it was all part of Palpatine's ultimate plan, and that Palpatine would eventually spare him, and he and Anakin would make peace and lead the newfound empire under Palpatine. Dooku was very wrong in this moment. Aboard the invisible hand, as Dooku sat there, powerless, with Anakin's and his lightsaber pointed in a cutthroat position at his throat, Dooku is not fearful for his life, but his future. Dooku has believed himself above the level of beings like General Grievous and Anakin Skywalker. He has a choice. He's at a crossroads. He's at the intersection. He's at the roundabout. Anywhere you want to see. He is in the middle. He has two paths. Either Dooku can go and give up his egregious nature and arrogance and get two cybernetic hands, or he will be forced to never wield the lightsaber again. Dooku's defining characteristic. It is clear that George Lucas depicted Dooku as a fencer, an ex-Jedi who was a master at swordplay, something we purposely agree with here at the channel. However, Dooku loved the study of the Force, loved the dark side in general, and pursuing all the knowledge he could. However, he only got true joy by exploring that of the lightsaber. And with Dooku's hands now being gone, he will either have to steep down to a level that he has for years, ever since he was a Jedi, believed he was above, or he will be forced to never wield the lightsaber, the weapon that has brought him so much joy, so much happiness, his defining characteristic. It was not enough for Anakin that Anakin bested the Count in the thing that he prided himself on, the thing he had honed himself for decades, that Anakin's style was the direct opposite of Dooku's, and that ultimately led to the Count's defeat in the lightsaber confrontation. No, it was not enough. Anakin took both of Dooku's hands. Count Dooku would either have to get two cybernetic hands, going against his very nature of being a gentleman and cutting corners, which, like I said previously, Dooku would never ever do. Dooku either had the chance to do that, or he would never wield a lightsaber ever again, which was something that the Count never wanted to do. And it was in this moment, Dooku was not fearing for his life, but for his future, his continuation. He believed he would be spared. It truly shows how blind and arrogant Dooku is, as he believes that even after Anakin has bested him, he is sitting there powerless at the mercy of the Chosen One, that he still believes he will be spared. The Revenge of the Sith novelization goes out of its way to depict Dooku and flesh him out as a purely illustrated character, with various motives and schemes revolting around and around the behind the scenes. Dooku truly is one of the most arrogant and selfish characters. He does not believe that he will be killed. He believes he will be spared, and is fearing for his future. He is fearing for the fact that if he does not get two cybernetic hands, he will never wield the lightsaber. But if he is not wielding the lightsaber, he will have a miserable life. If he gets two cybernetic hands, he will hate his life. He will hate himself for going against his egregious political nature of being a gentleman and cutting corners. Dooku was at a crossroads, and it was not until Palpatine commanded Anakin to do it and to execute the Count of Sereno that Dooku actively feared for his life. And it was only in the last moment that Dooku thought of ever having Palpatine exposed as a Sith Lord. He thought that their plan was cemented, and that Dooku would forever be beside Palpatine's side as his true Dark Apprentice. Well, my acolyte, my friend, what did you think of this video? Did you enjoy this video on Count Dooku, and perhaps one of his most interesting characteristics? I heavily implied that you watched the Revenge of the Sith novelization. It is one of the greatest novels ever. And watch the Revenge of the Sith movie adaptation again, as we can see Count Dooku's pure look of shock on his face. It is truly something worth watching. I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.